Monika, thank you for this opportunity to talk to you. I wanted to ask you about the game that you developed. Namely, you just presented to us yesterday in Belgrade that this game is serving for countering antisemitism, and it's being used with young people and developing in a way their social media literacy and discussion in the classroom about this interesting topics. So please, could you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes, so this is a research-based game that we developed. So that means we conducted research first and then developed it together with the creative agency Guzmanson. And it's a game that simulates social media, like a social media stream, like you, for instance, have on TikTok or on Instagram, and shows anti-Semitic posts, not anti-Semitic posts of solidarity, and the players basically have 7 missions where they sometimes have to choose, is this anti-Semitic or not, should this be shared or not. So it's kind of an online game that supports the development of social media literacy, but also the recognition of anti-Semitism in social media posts. And it's embedded in a workshop for young people from 15 years. And it kind of serves as a conversation starter, as a dialogue starter, because this is actually what we want to have. We want to have a dialogue with the young people about what they see on social media, what informations they see on social media about the Holocaust, about Jews, about Israel, about Palestine, because very often this information is presented also in an anti-Semitic way, and we want to empower them to be able to recognize in this stream of information that they have on TikTok or social media. We want them to recognize, to be able to recognize the anti-Semitic content, so to not spread it any further. And yeah, the game is a conversation starter for a dialogue that we then are having in the workshop with the young people, and we understand from the workshops that they're confronted with a lot of hate on social media, but and it really has a big impact on them. It makes them feel very bad, and although that they have maybe already had workshops on the topic of anti-Semitism or other forms of discrimination, it's really, really hard for them to detect anti-Semitism in social media posts, because a social media post comes with a lot of likes, with a lot of comments, and in the mind of many social media users, this legitimizes the message in the post, and that makes it very hard to detect anti-Semitism on social media, and that's why we created the game and the workshop.
What I find so fascinating is when you describe the dialogues that followed the workshop. I think that one of the things that you mentioned that made probably the strongest impact on me is that, if I'm correct, you said that young people crave to have the space for dialogue, that they actually expressing that they would love to have more space to talk about these things, but they don't actually finding it in other environments.
This was also surprising to me, to be frank. And we understand, I mean, research supports this, that young people spend a lot of time on social media, sometimes 14 hours, which is crazy, right? So that means basically in a free day, they're spending their entire time on social media, that they're awake. And also we understood that in the school or in formal education, there's not lots of space for them to express themselves. There is not space for them to be listened to. And this is what they tell us. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you, I could express myself. Thank you for giving me the space to say something wrong and to not be punished or excluded. And we trying to create this space of solidarity, co-learning, making mistakes and be accepted nevertheless, saying also things that are sanctioned in society usually, saying anti-Semitic things because it's in them, right? They have learned it, and we don't want them to forbid it and just go to the next radical place on social media where it's acknowledged. We want them to say it out aloud in our workshops so we can discuss it and talk about it. This is what we are aiming for.
Doesn't it also maybe showing flaws in our educational systems? I think that really in many countries around Europe, I know a little bit more about Sweden and the Netherlands and Serbia, but I can imagine that it is all around. In many cases, education is really kind of like built around like one size fit them all approach, with very little space for individual participatory oriented learning approach.
Yes.
While on the other hand, we know that the impact of social media, you just said like 12, 14 hours, it's really mind-blowing. It's basically full wakened time of a young person. They're making such an impact on their values and the way they think and the way they express themselves. Maybe there are among the reasons why they are so easily, if you want to say, affected by these messages from social media.
Yeah, messages on social media are usually black or white. They are very polarizing and giving, I mean, this is what anti-Semitism does, right? It gives answers to societal problems, apparently, right? It's an easy way to think, oh, it's the Jews, right? And this is, yeah, the common denominator in anti-Semitism to have Jewish people as scapegoats. And what we basically know is we don't learn by someone telling us facts. We then learn them by heart and can repeat them, but we don't make meaning like this. It doesn't stay with us. It doesn't impact us. What makes change, or what creates change in us or impact, is when we when we feel it's relevant to us and when we can engage with it in a way that builds on our experience. And yeah, of course, this is not happening in school. And what we also see, we like in Germany, we interviewed a lot of people who had extensive anti-Semitism critical education and reproduce anti-Semitism. And that is because it contradicts what they see on social media, and what they see on social media is so much more powerful and more relevant to them that you can really sit with them and then they repeat exactly what you want them to repeat, but they don't feel it, they don't believe it. And this is why participant-centered learning, how it's called, the way we facilitate the workshop is really based on creating relevance for young people, giving them space to explore how they want to learn, how they want to discuss on anti-Semitism. They're really leading the workshop, and we understood this then really creates meaning for them. They are not able to then tell you all the forms of anti-Semitism in the right way, but they made sense of the topic for themselves and why it's relevant for their community, for their society, for their own life.
Thank you, Monika.
Thank you.